Yo, 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 what's happening, my people? Mrs. V, SHG, family. Glad you can join me here today, baby. Let's go. Let me begin by telling you what you can expect in the next few minutes. Convince you of the marvelous universe, how she flows so illicit. Let me begin by telling you what you can expect in the next few minutes. Convince you of the marvelous universe, how she flows so illicit. Welcome to Tell My Truth and Shame the Devil, the space where we break generational cycles, confront the pain we were told to hide, and reclaim our power through truth. I am your host, Vienna, and this platform is dedicated to bringing real stories from real people, stories that heal, challenge, and awaken our community. Today's guest is a woman whose courage is rewriting the narrative for survivors everywhere. Jeannie is the author of the deeply moving book, I Am the Shame, a raw, brave, and liberating account of her journey through trauma, silence, and ultimately self-restoration. Her work has become a mirror for so many who have carried the weight of secrecy and a message of hope for those still finding their voice. So in this episode, we're diving into her story, her healing, and the truth behind the title, I Am the Shame. Jeannie is here not just as an author, but as a survivor, a healer, and a testimony of what happens when you refuse to let pain define your purpose. So let's step into this conversation with openness, honesty, and respect. This is the one you don't want to miss.
Hi there. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to having a discussion with you, also speaking my truth to enable and to support survivors out there of sexual abuse. That's childhood sexual abuse.
Yes, thank you. And I'm just over the moon that you accepted my invitation. And not just that, the fact that I believe I've got another friend. So thank you for that, Jeannie. So I would like to start by asking you the first question I have, which is your story in terms of wherever you want to start. You're welcome to start when you're ready.
Okay. So my name's Jeannie Brooks. I'm a solicitor. I'm an author. I am a CEO of an organization called Stoic CIC, which is an organization that I incorporated off the back of my book called I Am the Shame. Also, with writing that book, it took me on a very spiral journey, which I will come on to. But just to give you just a little bit of context, is that when I wrote the book, I had to go into therapy again to enable me to write the most difficult chapter in that book. And also that I wanted the book to be a resource for someone who read it and could resonate with the chapters, so that they just don't read the book and then that's the end of it. At the back of the book is resources. So like Survivors UK, Rape Crisis, there's also certain resources for male young men and adult males as well, because not only females, girls, women go through that experience of abuse, but men and boys do too. And then I thought, well, I didn't even want to leave it there either. I wanted to become that resource, even if it's just going around telling my story and being a support to somebody else who has gone through a similar journey as myself. And to the tail end of all of that, I now know it is my purpose. And that was cemented last week when I attended a very intense course to become a life coach. So I'm now a recognized visualization, life coach. So I've got so many techniques that I want to work with the women in my group with, and to go on out there into the community to do so. So that's the context of where my journey started and where it ends. And now I'm going to go to the depth of it. So I myself personally is a product of child sexual abuse. My father raped my mother. My father is, in fact, my great grandfather. He was actually married to my great grandmother, which is my mum's grandmother. And they came from Jamaica. My gran was already over here. Then they came to join her. But the relationship that my gran was in was quite turbulent with herself and her husband at the time. It wasn't physical. It was more of a mental abuse between the two of them. And then every time they broke off and separated for a short period of time, they would send my gran would send my mum to go and stay with her grandmother, my great grandmother.
Right.
And this is where the tale starts. So my mum was 14 at the time when she became pregnant with myself, and 15 when she had me. She wasn't able to finish school or anything. And my great grandmother, because my great grandfather was also physically violent and abusive to my great grandmother, and so she was very vulnerable. So they were all vulnerable. And I also had a sister who's older than me, but was younger than my mother by 5 years, whom my father had sent from Jamaica, from her mother, to come and live and reside with him here in the UK. So in that household at that particular time was my father, my great grandmother, my mother, and my sister, who's 10 years senior to myself. So they would have been like sisters because mum spent most of her time there. And in the heart of the book, my mum has a chapter and she tells her part of the story. So if you do get the book, you'll be able to read in more depth what happened through that with my mum. So in the tail end of that, my mum and my great grandmother made a pact that if my father was to try to interfere with her again, that they would flee. And the fleeing was in the middle of the night. And from what I know is that my sister had asked them to take her with them, and they said no. And so they then left her and left me in the household. So I'd been born by this stage, but they left me at the age of 3 months. So I ended up growing from 3 months to the age of 6 with my father and my older sister in the household amongst lodgers, as they had a 6-bedroom, 3-story house. So the house was rented out to lodgers as well. And one of the lodgers was also our housekeeper, so she prepared the food and everything as well. And so I don't recall my earliest recollection of my life, I would say, is at the age of 6. But once I put pen to page and wrote the book, I now know that my trauma didn't start at the age of 6. It started from within the womb. Because obviously, if the mother is traumatized, then the child or the unborn fetus is traumatized through that. So I don't have any real recollection from before the age of 6. I have snippets which I'll come on to. But long story short, my father then started to interfere with my older sister. And I now, when I recollect and everything, I know certain times when he would take her and do whatever he would do to her. One recollection is when it would be probably most likely a weekend. I can't tell you what day it was, but we had the active bedroom, and we would know he's coming. And he used to be a pub man, so he used to go down to the local pub, and then when he came home on the night, he'd bring like cherry bee, baby sham, cashews, peanuts, and put them on the side of the gram. And I know some of the nights then my sister
Yeah.
to go with him, and we used to play a game because I think she knew it was coming, and if we were awake when he got in, she used to say play the game, we're sleeping. And we knew he was coming because the frame of the door would light up from the stairs. But the most terrific part for me, I think, and traumatic, is the day when we used to go. I used to go to school with some other kids. There was a family with loads of kids, and we used to go. We used to be dropped off there. I used to be dropped off there, and then I'd go to school with those children. And my sister, when she finished from school, secondary school, she'd come and pick me up. Then we'd go home, and then Dad, when he finished work, he would come home. So this one day, he came to pick me up from the family's home, and he was mad, he was raged. But I was excited because, my dad's come to pick me up. We drove to the end of the road, and I could tell he was angry. And she just came around the corner with one of her friends. I think they had like a school rehearsal play, so that's why she was delayed. But I don't know whether she hadn't told him or told him and he didn't know, but he expected her to have picked me up and have brought me home, because my father was a very, very ignorant person as well. So even by his tonality, you would fear him. So I remember her coming around the corner with her friend, giggling, and he's just roaring at her, get in the car, get in the car. So we hadn't got far. We only got to the end of the road and she came. So we turned the car around in a rage, brought us back to the house. And then he marched her up the stairs. And I remember going in, and he was beating her initially with the belt. And I kind of like jumped on him to say, stop it, leave the dad. And he just shoved me off him, picked me up by the cuff of my clothes, and threw me out of the room. And then the door locked. And that howling that came from that room, it wasn't that she was being beaten or smacked. He was raping her. And I remember him coming out. I can't remember which one of them came out first, but I remember her going downstairs to the female lodger's room. Not long after that, the authorities came. So all I saw was these white persons entering, male, female, and then we were taken. So my memory doesn't take me from being transported, but the next memory I have is I went to foster, like an emergency care foster home. Not foster home, like in somebody's home. So someone's taken us as an emergency. Foster care.
Foster care, yeah.
Foster care, yeah. And he came, he found us, and I remember him, saying, I want to see my children. And I was about to go, Dad, Dad, because to me, all them years, that's the only father figure and the only life and functionality that I did know.
You had, yeah.
My father, to me, during all those 0 to 6 years, he's my hero. He's going to, be the one to, care for me. And my sister, she covered my mouth and gagged me so I couldn't speak. Then he didn't get to see us. He went. And then next thing I know, we're transported to a home now, into social care. And we wasn't there long.
You mean like a care home with other children? Okay.
So I was in a dormitory with 10 of us in there.
Right.
And I remember one day falling. I was outside in the grounds playing, and I fell down. And I remember going into the room. I don't know whether going into the dorm to get either a plaster or something. I just remember that my knee was bleeding. And as I was walking past the room door, I doubled back because I could see that she was packing. And I said, where are you going? So she said, nowhere. And then that was the last day I've seen her up until present.
What do you mean up until like 2025?
That's the last time I saw my sister, when I was 6 years old. I'm nearly 56 now, so it's nearly 50 years I haven't left sight on my sister. It transpired that she was pregnant, and she went to reside with the lodger, and then they left and moved to the States. But she had an abortion during that period, and then went. So I've never seen her again. I moved in with my great-grandmother and my father. My great-grandfather had split by this stage. And then they transferred me from one home to another. And my uncle, who's my father's brother, tried to get custody for me. But because my mother and my mother's maternal mother's side of family was also present, they said that they'd have to give that option to them first. So my nan became my legal guardian. So remember, my great grandmother, I call her Nanny, she was married to my father, who's my great grandfather.
Mm.
And so even though in that traumatic time, I didn't see it as a trauma, I just saw the transition, but I don't think I recollect. I think I was too young to recollect what happened.
Can I just ask, when social services gave your maternal side first option, were they aware of your journey since up until that point?
Yes, and I'd say this is why I says my early recollection is when I was 6, but there is a photograph of my great grandmother and myself in the house where I was born. I'm sitting on her lap, but I must be about 3 or 4, and it's only after starting to write the book, it came to me like I wouldn't have been 6 yet, but she's in the house. So Mum told me that at some stage, through some of the stages of me being and living with my father, my nan, my great grandmother, actually went back to the household to try to resume the marriage with him, but he kept still being violent with her. So every time she'd have to flee. And back then, late 60s, early 70s, it was still frowned upon women leaving their husbands.
At this point, she obviously knows the situation with
knows
yourself.
the situation because obviously she knows I am the child of the abuse. She knows I'm living in that property with my father and my sister. So she was like stepmom to my sister anyway, because it was my father's biological child from Jamaica that came to live with us. So my sister, obviously at the age of 16, it was younger then, I think it was 15, they, come out of the services. So she went with the lodger because she had built up a rapport and a relationship with that lady lodger that lived in our house at the time. She was like a mother figure. So with that being said, I came to live with my great grandmother because she was like a mother figure. So with that being said, I came to live with my great grandmother as my little guardian. So she became my mother, so to speak. But I did have access to my mum as well. So I remember that before I came out of the home completely, I had to have visits because social services obviously is involved. So they want to know and ensure that the home that's going to be my forever home is secure for me.
It's safe, yeah.
So I used to go and have weekends with them. And that's where my own personal first encounter of abuse I encountered. My mum's partner at the time, because even though my mum and my nan lived separate, so my nan had her flat and my mum had her flat with her, that in that time, very violent boyfriend. And I remember I used to go and stay with them as well. And like if ever my mum was out of the room or had gone across the road to the shop, he'd fondle me. He'd fondle me. And remember, I'm only 6 at this stage, so I have no development.
Yeah.
And he would, for gratitude, and I'd freeze. And recalling it, I knew it wasn't right. But I think at the same time, if I was bold enough to say, in any event, I think then there would have been an issue anyway. So I don't know, did I decide at that point to stay numb or dumb because I don't want to lose the opportunity of coming out and being with my family? Because otherwise, if my nan didn't take me, because I don't think at that point my mum was able to take me. And if my nan didn't agree to do it, I would have gone into the care system. Because they wouldn't release me back to my father, and I think they didn't. Maybe they would have released me to my uncle, but apparently my uncle had asked for my sister to go, because apparently they visited us in the first home where we were together, but I don't have any recollection of that. It's my cousin who tells me later on that they came as a family to visit us both in the home, and that my uncle was saying he would take my sister, and she's saying that she was crying and she was refusing to come with him. I can only put that down to probably fear of my father being still able to have access to her, because obviously she's left the country. She's not even in the country. She's gone to the States. I found this out later on, because obviously from 6 until the age of 13, I'd never spoken to her, never seen her or anything like that. So rewinding back to staying with my mum and her abusive boyfriend and what he did to me, I never told anybody. I only told my story of that actual time in my book. And then time passes on. My mum leaves her abusive boyfriend, and then she comes to live with me and my nan in her 1-bedroom flat. So we had like a bed settee. So she turned me out into a bed in the night time. She and I would sleep in that room. Otherwise, I'd have slept in with my nan, and I had been sleeping in with my nan because it's a 1-bedroom, the living room. But because mum had to flee from him, she came to live with us for a short period. And I think that's when I first really got to kind of know who my mum was, because up until that point, I didn't know who she was. Oh, and I have another recollection. My brain goes like this, so please bear with me.
No, that's fine. Mine too.
I had another, there was a time where I would have probably been about 3, 4, no more than that. And we were at this party, and this woman, and I kept saying, "Mom, Mom," because I thought she was genuinely my mother. And she said, "No, I'm not your mom," but she was kind. And then she led me to my father. And I remember my father saying, "I can understand why she thinks you're her mom, but I don't recollect having any photo or any memory or knowledge of who my mother was before I came to my great nan." And when they were coming to see me in the second home, in the the weekend releases, let me see. From there now, mum comes to live with us. She comes for a short period, and then she leaves again. So I keep having abandonment in my life. The only stable person is my great grandmother, my nan. From the day she's taken me out of the home up until passing of life, she's been the one main constant in my life. And I think I was closer to her throughout her life as well, more than I was to my mum, and I'll come on to say about that. So mum then moved out. She then went to her own place, and then it was only like 5 blocks away. So I remember it being a good period, because I was able to float between my great grandmother and my mother and have some time with my mum. And when she lived in her house at that time, it was lovely. I had my own room, obviously, because she worked. She was a nurse. She had different shift patterns, so they would come and stay with her, would be around her shift pattern, and it used to be nice. Had no traumatic episodes or anything during that period, from what I can recall.
Remember,
and then time passes by. I go to infants, junior. I get into secondary school now, and everything in that time I would say is still normal. But I would say that my father was still allowed to be a domineering presence in that time. My mum, not so much my mum, but my nan would allow him to come to the home, and not only allow him to come to the home, she would also allow for him to take me back to his home. So I'd go up for Easter, I'd go up for Christmas, and I'd go up for summer. But my other cousins from his own siblings, their kids would come over to the house as well. So I wouldn't necessarily be alone in the house with him. But I just couldn't father, if they know the character he is, they know how I transpired, is how then did they allow for him to come and to have access to me in that way. And I'll come on to that a bit later.
Okay, I was just about to ask you, what do you think? But okay.
It all flows into it, but you've got to see the picture, then you'll see where it transpires from.
Yeah.
So I'm about 11, 12 here now, so I'm going forward. And then we went to Jamaica just before I turned 12. And then when we returned, my father then left and went to Jamaica. And then my mum, as I said, was living in her own house, and we were in this period of time. By the time I got to secondary, my nan had got a house, so we had a 2-bedroom house, which was a block closer to where my mum used to live as well. And during that time, she struck up a relationship with this man, and he didn't live too far from hers. And I remember the first time she brought me to his flat, because he had his flat and she had her house, and she brought me to the flat with her to see him, and we was all sat there, it was like an attic flat, and we all sat watching TV, and then they were like lounging together, and he put his hand down inside the top, but I remember him just staring at me as he did it, and I thought,
Ooh.
not right. But then again, I kind of shoved it off and said, oh, because you don't really know what life is about. And I just thought, yeah, mum's, happy and he seems loving towards her. It must be in my head. But that was my initial, when you have that trigger, that was my initial. And then I let that be. Then she moved in. She moved in with us. She gave up that. I don't know why she gave up. I must ask the question because we've never really talked about it. And she came to live with us, but she didn't come on her own. This man came to live with her as well, and he then started to groom me, which I know the meaning of it now. Funny enough, because I'm a solicitor, I'm a defense criminals solicitor as well. So even though I'm doing the job and I know the role, this is years later. I'm telling you, I'm snipping.
Yeah. I know.
I still didn't, because I didn't deal with my trauma, it still didn't connect the dots. But I do know, and in my book, I write a chapter called Crime and Punishment, because the crime is from the innate encounter with that person. So, as I said, you remember we were in his flat. This is way before they came to live with us.
Yeah.
And the next time, I think I was going across the landing, and he said, "Oh, you got a piece of fluff on your top," and it starts from there.
Yeah.
Stood there, and I'm thinking, is just a shock again. It's a shock again, and then it just transpired from there. He used to just, because mum, remember, she did different shift patterns, and so whenever she wasn't there, this man would abuse me. And I talk about it, and I go into detail about it in my book. And that chapter is my 12 to 13-year-old self, and how it transpired, how this man groomed until he abused me. And my nan came down to 1 month, because I try and stay with my nan. So she's old by this stage. She's, up in age. So she liked to sew. She was a seamstress, so she liked to sew. So she was either in a bedroom or she was downstairs in the kitchen. And I tried to go wherever she was.
Yeah.
So that because I know he's in the house, and no voice to say anything. And so most of the abuse took place downstairs because Nanny would be upstairs. And the one morning she came down and she found him abusing me. And in that moment, everything just froze for me. Time stood still. She banished him from the house. And she said to me, we're just going to wait till your mum comes home. We'll see what happens then.
That was it?
Yeah. And then we waited for mum to come. And then when she came, she said, you must have been up to the job. I said, So in Caribbean patois, traditional means you enticed him to what he did to you. So however you want to look at that word in what I've just said, you enticed him to do what he did to you. So just hold that thought there, right? I'm 12 years old.
what do you find that where do you think those types of reasonings come from, or should I say logic comes from? Because if you're looking at a 12-year-old, as you said, you was 12 years old, and this perpetrator who most probably is not even in their 20s, so above that, how is one to say what are they seeing, or what is their logic that is bringing them to say you must have did this to this man?
I can't speak for my mum in terms of what may have been said to her in her time when her abuse happened to her, but generationally, when these things happen, culturally, it's shut down with shame. In other words, you're not bringing shame to the family. You're not going to, this is not going to come out. You must have caused it, so you're the one in the wrong. And so therefore, that's how you keep your mouth shut, because it's you.
Oh,
Just
so
come to
okay, so
me
you're okay,
in
okay,
this moment, talking to you here now. Because
right.
every time I relive and rehash, and I'm so thankful that I'm in a place of healing,
Mm-hmm.
that I can talk this and reanalyze it every time I speak about it. And this is about going back into my subconscious mind and trying to relive, rehash, and give a reason or a rationale behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And just in that moment there, shame, if you don't want to own it, you'll let someone else own it and let them carry it rather than you. Because if you carry it, it has to be relayed to somebody else's ear, be exposed.
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't happen for me. It didn't happen for me on multiple occasions. And if I tell you all of it, you won't be able to read my book because I've told you all of it. But I am going to share a bit that I've actually put in the book as well.
Well, I've got a head start because I've already got the book, so so yeah, so I've got a bit of a head start. So
you can
yeah,
see where I'm coming from.
yes, I do.
So because we haven't got all day and Rome wasn't built in a day, let me just pick this up a bit more. So I'm going to fast forward now to the age of 14. So at this stage, might remember when I came from Jamaica at the age of 12,
Mm-hmm.
my father had gone out to Jamaica. And in that time, he'd met someone, brought her back to the UK, and married her. I was a bridesmaid at his wedding, to be honest. And my stepmom was already pregnant with my sister, that follows me. So there's 14 years difference between us from 14. Okay. So in this same age range, two opportunities arose for something to be done, and it didn't transpire. One would be because my nan, even though she was more like, she was very quiet, very timid. So she just did her sewing, did her cooking, but she was a fearful believer. So she loved the church. Mm-hmm. So I grew up in the church. Mm-hmm. And sometimes those who know about Triumphant Church, Church of God, they sometimes have prayer meetings in each other's homes. Mm-hmm. And then I think they had a prayer meeting in our home. And this before that, one of the sisters of the church knew that my mum was seeing this man and said to my nan, he's not a good man. He's not a good man. And I remember having that discussion with my mum, but I can't remember if it was after the event and he had gone or whilst he was still there. That memory doesn't take me back there, but I remember the two of them having this discussion. Mm-hmm. And then the same lady, also her granddaughter and other members came to the house, and there was a prayer meeting. And the young lady took me to one side. So the house that we lived in, you had the front room, then you had the dining room, then you had the kitchen, and then you had the stairs going from the dining room. So she'd come through to the dining room with me, and I don't recall how we ended up in the dining room. All I remember is this young lady, she'd probably be in her early 20s, said to me, has this man ever done anything to you, abused you, touched you in any way? I can't remember the exact words she used, but she said to me, did he? And I remember in that moment just being so anxious, don't know whether to, can't get the words out. The shame is sitting a heavy weight on me and the tongue. And she said, I didn't say anything, and then she said, because he abused me too. And in that moment, I told her. But I didn't tell my nan, and I didn't tell my mum, nobody. I just told her. And she told me that he was with her mum, and I think she said he was married to her mum, and during that time married to her, he had abused her. So there was and remember, her grandmother was the one who said to Nan,
he's not a good man.
So I don't know whether, because I can't remember the fullness of the conversation. All I remember, and hold on to those words, he's not a good man. And so don't forget, there's condoning things here as well. Because when you hear things and you don't action them, or you don't question them, or you don't challenge them. All right, so there's that part. Then in the same age, I went to stay with my father. Because remember
so that 20-year-old did not do anything.
It just left there. It was left there. Whether she told her nan, she told her, we had a conversation or what, I don't know. Because I said to you, that would have been an opportunity.
Okay, yes.
It didn't happen.
Okay.
So I eventually spoke, had a voice, nothing happened.
Okay.
Then in that same year, my sister was now born. My cousin from London, now my father's brother's daughter, who I told you my cousin had filled in certain things for me through the past. She came to the house as well, and so I was there with her and her daughter and my baby sister, my stepmom, and my father. I think there may have just been still one lodger in the house at the time. And I don't know what happened. I just felt like I could just blurt it out and tell my cousin. So what did my cousin do? She told my stepmom. What did my stepmom do? She told my father. So my father gets on the blower and starts screaming at my mother. How could she make this happen to me? Remember him? Remember the character? How can she make this happen to me? And then he goes, she's not coming back. She's staying here with us. That's it. And my nan and my mum, they must have took Concord because you could have backed your eyelid, they were there. And in that, now that I've collected what's happened and gone before, and when writing the book, my mum came to rescue me in that moment. But when you're a child or a young adolescent, and you still got all this blockage and you don't even know what your trauma is, I didn't recognize it. And they fought like cat and dog in that living room. And then she went down to the police station because she's saying that they must have all the records there of everything that's happened and gone before. And I don't even recall the authorities coming. All I remember is I was back in the car with my mum and my nan driving back to our city. And mum just screaming at me in the car all the way home. The shame, the stigma, whatever you want to call it. And then I just internalized the voice and put it right back inside me.
What was she screaming about? How
could I go to him? How could I tell him? You shouldn't have told him. It was like that. It was constant. And I understand and I get it now.
I was just about to say, you wasn't to know.
I didn't know. All I know is that all that, and the anger and everything just kept spiraling and taking it all and mixing it in and just whoosh back into me.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was it. We never spoke about it again. And I don't think we've ever spoken about it until I wrote my book. And I'm just going to backtrack again because abandonment.
No problem.
My sister came back to the UK in 83. So in midstream of what had happened to me and what me telling somebody, my sister came back to the UK. So it transpired that my mum worked with other fellow nurses that were family to her on her mother's side, and they became good friends. They socialized together. And then when my sister was coming back to the UK, they told my mum, and mum was to phone when she had arrived.
Mm-hmm.
And so mum gave me the number to phone. So I phoned and I spoke to her, and she just dismissed me. Remember, I'm a 13-year-old child. I haven't seen my sister since I was 6. That's the only person I knew. Even if she was a sister, she would also have been probably like a mother figure to me. And to have that person just taken from you. So this is where I'm saying I've had trauma on top of trauma and didn't even realize what trauma was. And then here comes the abandonment. She said, how did you get this number? So I told her, your cousins are my mum, blah, 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 and that's how I'm ringing you. She says, is your mum there? I said, yes. She's going to speak to your mum, please. Spoke to mum. Then mum and her had a conversation and the phone went down. I was just distraught. And I blamed my mum. Here's that she just didn't want me to have any connection with my sister. She was doing it on purpose. You know, when you're a child and how it takes you, it took me till I had more resentment from my mum. So now I'm going to come back again. I'm going to backtrack again. So when everything happened, when I was 12, nearly 13, mum just became really distant to me. She would shout. And in fact, she used to do that even when he was in the house, her partner was in the house at the time, because he utilized and tapped into all of that. And he tapped into all of it. And he used to give me money. He said, oh, you got your pocket money. Oh, let me give you a little bit more pocket money. And tell your mum, though, you know, she'll be happy with you. Don't tell your mum. So, and in the book, I go into more detail about grooming, about what the perpetrator does to the victim, and how this is how we're talking about subconscious mind, tapping into that person's mind to bring out and up the vulnerability. That's the anchor that they attach themselves to. And then you're in that situation. And I remember one time, because I'll tell you in the book, they used to have coinage in their room, like, you know, where you save, like, say, pounds, you save 50 pence.
Yeah.
I just used to go in and help myself. I'm not going to lie. I used to just go in and help myself. And one day he says to me, caught me on the landing, and he says, I know you've been taking my money. So I thought, yeah, I've got to be brave. Yeah, I did take the money. And then I said, yeah, I'm going to tell my mum what you've been doing to me. And I just grabbed me up and shit me up. And then he said, she'll never believe you over me. He said that he's going to tell her that he caught me taking the money, and this is why I'm telling the lie.
And you know, I don't know if you can recall, but when he had said what he had said, do you now feel it's because he was very sophisticated in, you know, manipulation? So he knew your mother. Yeah, and he knew you as well, so he knows. Because what I was saying to you when we had the little chat, like there must be something in the air where we'll say, you know, where, you know, predators tend to really know who to really,
Yeah.
you know, they can sort of try, and
Yeah.
and who just they will just rather stay away from.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay.
Probably most likely, because again, Mother and I have not spoken about this, is did she tell him her story, or is he aware, or has he worked it out, or do you know,
Because usually that's how it goes, right?
yeah. But I knew he'd also groomed her, and the reason why I say that is because after the event, and he had been banished from the house, and I'd been told that it was me, Mum still continued to see him. And that's the most deepful hurt for me. Because not only do you not believe me,
Yeah.
it's in my face. You
Yeah.
definitely don't believe me. So wherever he was, she was going there for a while. And I don't even know when it broke up and when it didn't break up, because I've already gone back into myself.
Yeah. So when he had, you know, held you by the neck, was that he was still in the house, right? That's
Nan was
pre.
in the bedroom. My nan was in the bedroom, and the landing runs from the first up the stairs. Then the landing goes to the left. So the first bedroom is my nan's room. Then it turns to the left. Then you've got the second room. And then you've got the bathroom at the end. So I'm coming out to the bathroom, and he's come out the room, and it's like, it's not even. And you know, when I'm talking, I'm projecting my voice. It's not a projection at all. It's like,
Oh, okay, yeah, I get you.
I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
But if I live and rehash it as well, it's more in depth. It's more
Yeah.
in depth. So as I said, with this chapter in itself, my 12 to 13-year-old self is the most traumatic time of my life. And before I started writing the book, it was 2020. I just turned 50. I was going on holiday. And then the pandemic hit. And so the holiday was cancelled. We got a refund. And in that time, so I'm going way back now to the future, because it's how it's transpired to help me to draft the book and to tell my story. And all these years, I kept it. It's all been here. I don't even think I really told anybody anything really about the depth of it. My eldest daughter, I did tell her something, and you'll have to read the book for her reaction, because she did something, but I'm not talking it. You'll have to read it. I don't know if you're there yet, or you read
No,
that.
I'm not there yet. No.
Okay. Honestly, every chapter.
And I'm trying not to skip the page, because I did
Yeah,
skip, but then I had to go back.
Some people do, but it rolls nicely
Yeah.
into the next, into the next, into the next. But yeah, I've just kept it and kept it and kept it, and I've been existing for 40 years. I'm living but existing at the same time, because I'm not whole, because there's something there riding on my chest to live with. So even the way I conducted myself, even in professional settings, even at home, I was not my best self. But when you can wear a mask really well, you wear that mask really well. And I mean, I've got friendships from I was 6 years old when I first came to live here. Those same friends, I'm still friends with them now. The first set of friends I had, my school friends from secondary, still friends with them now. And then when I've left school and my teenage and college days, still friends with them now. And when I had my book launch at the beginning of this year, and they all read, or I told my story, part of my story on the stage, everyone was in shock.
Couldn't believe
Because
it.
the person and character I personified was that little girl in this book. Yeah.
So that was, because I always find that there's two sides. So you had your side, you had that mask with your friends, work, and what have you. What are some of the maybe negative behaviors that came from you knowing that you actually had a trauma that you needed to identify?
Yeah. So it came in twofold, really. It came in the concept of me being very low esteem, very not confident, um, frightened to project or speak my voice. But some would say, "Oh, I wouldn't believe that about you, Jeannie." But I'm talking in my professional aspect now, because I was a criminal solicitor for 21 years, and I did defence. So I did do a great job for my clients. But in everything that I did, once I was on my feet in the courtroom, I'd be like, I shouldn't be here. I'm not worthy of this position, and I'm not in par with my, fellow.
Counterparts.
Yeah, I just didn't feel entitled. Well, I'd worked hard for it all, but I just didn't feel that I fit in any of that arena, because it's there for your elites. I'm somebody who's, from a broken home, someone who's a victim. So who am I to stand here with my elite? So I lived with anxiety. So that was the negative for me. I just didn't feel I was valuable to be or stand on in an arena or on a platform. That's me as an imposter. So I lived with imposter syndrome, anxiety, limited beliefs. And then on the flip side, at home, I'm the warrior. I'm making sure everything is in its place. And if anything's out of place, I got OCD. I'm like, you're not going here, you're not doing this. And that part of it is sad in a sense, but also a protective character for me with my girls, because I've got 3 girls. And so some of the times they want to go with their friends and I'm like, no, you're not going nowhere. And it's not that I wouldn't want them to go. I just the anxiety, if anything, and anybody. No, and if my friends if they were going to their friend's home, I need to know who their family is. What I'm like, and I'm making friends with the family, the parents, before my child is going in your doorway. My youngest, her best mate at the time, she lived with just her mum. So I was like, yeah, you can go. The middle one, your friends can come here, and my eldest, because we were in the church as well, so her friends were in the church, so I knew the family. So I'd be like, okay, well, you're going for this time, and make sure you're back by that time. But when I look at it, in reality, it was my mother, because my mum was with me. You can't go here, you can't do that. But I don't think it was because of, predators. It was because through her own anger. So that's a different side and a different story path there. And a lot of these things built up onto my anxiety, because as you remember, we're coming back from my father's home. Mum's screaming at me in the car. My nan's in the car as well, saying absolutely nothing. And I'm just like this week, taking everything back back here. So and then I couldn't do anything right. Mum tell me after the slightest thing. So sometimes when I was having what I now know as outbursts, I could see me mirroring some of my mum's traits.
Behaviors, yeah.
Yeah. And I catch myself sometimes, and then I have to reel back. And then if I've said something or argued with the kids, or I'd have to sometimes eat humble pie. But because it was so like, I didn't even sometimes say I was sorry or anything like that. Now later on in life, and now I've had therapy, and me and my eldest as well, we've sat down and talked it through everything, and they're starting to understand. Well, my eldest, she gets it. The younger two, I think they're coming to it. But yeah, it wasn't. It was just a weight, man. Just a weight on me.
Weight of it, yeah.
A heaviness, and so I just like park it or submerge it, and then I'm the lawyer.
Do it again, and until you repeat again. Repeats again.
It's little triggers that you can't identify those triggers. You let those triggers absorb you. So this is why I personally think therapy is very good.
Yes.
It really helped me, and it's not for everybody, but don't knock it until you try it, because as I said, I didn't start to look at anything for 40 years. I kept it, but I knew something went right and I just couldn't put my finger on it. And as a professional, you'd think I'd identify all these things. I just was just going through the
Wasn't.
motion.
And that actually brings me on to your next question. Before I go there, thank you so much, Jeannie, for sharing your story. I am overly appreciative for that. I thank you. So moving on to the next question. I would say it's lessons. I want to know the lessons you have learnt, I would say, and through your healing, your continued healing as well. How has that really shaped you, shaped your surroundings, shaped your transformation?
I was coming 50, and I always promised myself it's going to be a new era for me. I'm a mature woman. I'm a professional. I got a little bit of money in the bank. I can have holidays. These are the things when you're young, you aspire to have all these things. I thought, yeah, I'm there. And so I might as well get to grips with my emotions as well, because I know I can be a bit like, and what is that about, G? Because I have to sometimes question myself.
Yeah.
And so I said, right, I'm going to get this dealt with. So I went to see my GP. I said, listen, I need some help. I'm having these thoughts and feelings. I've been having them all along. I didn't go into much details. It just says, self. So they referred me to the community mental health team.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, what? I'm not mad. And then I thought, they said, no, it doesn't work like that. So mental health, everybody has mental health. If you haven't got a mental health, you're a robot. But mental health means there's different spectrums of mental health. So you can be in good mental health, you could be in poor mental health, you could be in trauma, what's the word? You could be in where you're manic. And so you can deal with it where you're in good mental. Every day you're chanting, you're giving yourself encouragement, self talk and things like that. That's good mental health. So you're chuckling along and you're good. Poor mental health could be where I am. I've got trauma, but I'm chuckling along, but I'm not dealing with it. Then on the next spectrum, you could have where someone's gone manic, someone is in crisis mode. That's what was the crisis.
Yeah.
And then they may have to go in and have some time and meditate in a hospital. Or you may have someone who has poor, bad mental health, but is being managed by medication, things like that. So everybody has mental health. So to me, when you say mental health team, it's like I'm mad, I'm in crisis, I'm manic. So no, it's not like that at all. Sometimes you need that guidance. So the GP said, I'm going to put you on to have CBT. So I can't even say the word, cognitive behavior therapy. So it makes you get to feel, think what's going on with you, so that you can get to the root of it and then bring it to the surface. And so then you can move along the starter and come back to good mental health. So I was ready for that because I thought, I want anything fresh. I've got few years in front of me, but more years behind me. So the rest of my years, I just want to be well with my soul. So that was that part of it. And then pandemic hit, so everything just went to the back.
Shut down.
But oh my God, then I'm ready and all of this. Then I got furloughed from work. I've always worked from I was 16. If I wasn't working, I was studying. I was never out of work, apart from work, math for your children, and I just became lost. So my mental health had tick, 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 tick down to the side. I wouldn't go outside. I wouldn't get the windows open because I just did not know, what is this? What is this? Is the world coming to an end or what? I became manic about it. I wouldn't let the kids go outside. I wouldn't open the windows. And even some of my friends, my close friends, knew I was going through that particular episode. And then one of my friends, she's got a lovely garden, and she brought some strawberries for my daughter. So I said, all right, then go outside and take the frost sheet off, put the frost sheet back on. So I was watching. But before the pandemic, my youngest daughter liked to plant things and do gardening, and she's part of the gardening club at school. So my mum loves flowers. I thought, let me get them in a little allotment space so they can, work together, kind of thing. But pandemic hit, so nobody was going anywhere. So when we were allowed to go back out and do the walks and things, we brought the strawberries up to the allotment, and then it's like a little community. And different people just used to come and put like little seeds and stuff, or little seedlings on our little raised bed, so we could do things. So I ended up being in this allotment. I'd say to my husband, I'm gone for an hour, I'll be back in an hour. 5 hours later, it was calm, it was peace. So with that being said, I started to come back out myself a bit, but then I was listening to motivational speakers, and I started to journal, because one of the therapists said to me, start journaling. I thought, oh, what's that? So when she explained, so first 12 months I wrote, and at the same time I went to see a hypnotist, because I'd already started to have a fear of driving as well. So that's another thing. I won't go too deep into that. It's in the book. But they helped me to get on the road, an A and a B road, to get from one city to another without going on a motorway. So that was progress for me. And then the other therapist who was helping me to journal, that first year, everything just came up, because even when I saw the therapist, it also opened the Pandora box, because I'm there for driving, but then she saw the hidden childhood trauma, and she said, I'll help you if you want me to help you. And I said, yes, please. So went back under a few times, and then everything started coming out. What I'd blocked started releasing. Little things would trigger. And I remember writing that 12 to 13-year-old self, crying through the whole of that chapter for a year, because it was where my demon lied. And so I then went back into therapy. When everything opened back up again, the doctors were saying, oh, remember when you said you wanted some CBT? Let's get you sorted. So referred, spoke to my lady, and it helped so much. But then in that time, whilst I was furloughed as well, because I was furloughed for 18 months, I self-developed, and I learned about children and young people's mental health. So I did a level 2, I think it was, and I saw myself as the child and also the parent on the page. I identify where I was in all of it, and that helped me tremendously. And I was able to engage with my daughter. We'd have talks about it, the eldest, and so that helped. Then with this book here now, after I got over chapter, I think it's chapter 6. I'd only wrote 6 because I told you it took me a whole year to write that one. And then my sister passed away, and then I just had writer's block. So she passed away last year, March, and that was a difficult time. I've finalised with my life coaching intense course last week, because that was amazing. And so my daughter said to me, Mum, why don't you just diarise 15 minutes a day and just write one line? It's one line less, Mum. And I thought, oh, and then I did it. But then I kept dreaming my sister, and she kept saying, sis, finish that book. You can finish that book. So I was like, whoa, power. So within 8 weeks, I wrote the rest of 21 chapters on top of the 6 and let the book go to print.
Is this your younger sister or the older sister?
And the younger one. I've never seen the older one.
So she's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's
okay.
around, because
she's around, but she's gone out of your life. Yeah.
Relationship with me, no, not at all. The sister that when my stepmom was already pregnant when they got married.
When you was 14.
When I was 14. So I'm 14 years her senior. That's the one.
That's the one that passed.
And she's the one that's gone. Yeah. she's the one that's gone.
Right.
And for a while again, I wore the mask, but I was still hurting and in pain
Mm-hmm.
to speak about her.
Mm-hmm.
Even just bringing her name to the forefront, looking at her photos, I thought I could handle it, but then I couldn't handle it. And then I'll tell you, just to finalize what happened last week with the coaching course. So yeah, with that being said, I just thought to myself, I'm going to heal myself. I'm not waiting on anybody. I'm healing myself. And
Mm-hmm.
hence why I had the two, the hypnotherapist and the other therapist. I paid for those privately because, as I said, the GP, all the organizations were down, but some were doing like virtual and things like that.
Yeah, yeah,
I still tapped into that to get that
yeah.
support and help. And then, as I said, writing this book, putting the resources in, and then becoming a resource myself has been very, 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 very liberating for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel it's my purpose. I now know it's my purpose to go out there. And I had to go through what I went through. No one should go through what I went through. And that's the aim. People do. You can't control that. But what you can do is control how you yourself try to get yourself free from that burden, free from that weight. Um, and why I say I would like to work with younger people, because I've lived with this for 40 years.
Yes.
40 years. I
Mm-hmm.
would love to work with women and men if they want to, but mainly women and women of color, because culturally we have a different aspect where shame and stigma lies. It's a pride thing, it's a cultural thing, but you
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't have to live with it because of that. And so I want to work with women, mainly of color, because of that experience of the culture behind it, and to know about the gagging and the internalizing. Someone who's between 18 and 25.
5.
Why I say that, and some say, why not younger? I'm a coach. I'm not a therapist and I am not a counselor. I am a coach.
Mm-hmm.
So when someone's got childhood and their children in that time, because we're trauma informed now. In our time, my time, it wasn't trauma informed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, There's trauma informed therapists and counselors that can help the children from any age younger down, because I think it's more complex. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to take away the complexity if I'm talking to an 18 to a 25-year-old. But what I want to do with them is for them to, if they've held it and have still got it between that age period, is to unash it, let it go, and live their best life going forward. Because
Yeah.
remember, I'm 50 by the time I've dealt with mine. So 50 years, there's more behind me than there is
Mm-hmm.
before me. I want someone who's gone through or is going through or living with this trauma to have less years behind them and more fruitful life
Yes.
ahead of them. And this is my
Ashe.
purpose. This is my purpose. And this is what I want. Anybody who's listening and they hear me, come find me.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really know that this was my purpose. I just when I wrote that book, all I could see on pen to page is divine intervention.
Jen.
The universe was running parallel with me all along. And for me, I have to be the voice and speak my truth for you to hear me,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want you to go through what I went through. And I know this is my purpose, cemented up to last week, this week rather. I went and did my life coaching practitioners training. The new role linguistic programming. It's about reprogramming your subconscious to let you see and believe your potential and release yourself from burdens that you do have. And whilst I was there was a young man. I was talking with him as we're going through our training, and the coach himself and the other coaches, they said, This man was not letting up. I did not know my own superpower. This man, I was just talking to him as normal, just going through the process, and he opened up. So whatever I have in me, I know I can help. So this is why I say, don't live with it so long. And I feel I have the power to support, help, and release and transform lives. Please free yourself.
And that is amazing that you've just mentioned everything there, because I was just about to ask you, what is the one lesson you would give to our listeners? And I think maybe it's that.
Free yourself. Free yourself. Don't burden yourself. You have your life. You've got one shot at it. Don't do as I did. I am on double speed now. I'm gonna get. I don't know how long I've got, but I know I'm on double speed, whatever it is, and I feel free. And I just want to empower you to be free. There's nothing free. You can't put nothing on freedom.
Yes. I mean, what you say here, Jeannie, I wish I had met somebody like you at the ages of 25, at the ages of 20, at the ages of 18. Just as what you're saying, you know, I mean, I came out at 33, but, you know, had I have met somebody like yourself, you know, very culturally informed and believed me, you know, I could have, but hey, you know, we're here now, I'm grateful for everything, but yeah.
You know what it is? It's getting you to your own realization. You have to believe in you. That's why you have to believe in yourself. You start with you. You start with yourself. Hence why we are Stoic, CIC. Stoic means it's a Greek philosophy about just under a century old, and it's the Greek philosophy of CBT. So before CBT got its name, CBT, it was there. And it's about living in the present moment. You can't change what's gone beyond, but you can deal with now. And now in the present is where you have to be. You have to identify with yourself. What do you want to do for your future? And then get your steps in motion to build that positive future going forward.
I agree with you, definitely. Well, I guess that says it all, I guess. Thank you once again, Jeannie, for being here today and telling your truth and shaming the devil at the same time.
Exactly.
Well, I have to get you back on as time goes on. Just to talk a bit more about your retreats that I know is coming up next year.
Yeah, just a quick one. So the organisation that I set up is to support women, to support survivors of abuse. It doesn't have to be sexual. It could be physical, mental, emotional, just where you're stuck. So I have retreats twice a year at the moment. The next one is going to be in June the 26th to the 28th of June, and that's going to be in Birmingham. And what we do workshops about visualization. We have vision boards. We talk about journaling, and also as a now trained life coach, I can do one-to-ones with you. I always do anyway. I do one-to-ones in terms of walks and talks. So you and I, if you don't even have to be in the same city as me, we can talk over the phone and just go through everything together and let me support you to be your better self. We have workshops as well. We're setting up a lot of workshops going forward into the community. So we're going out into the community as well. But the retreats, you can come away transformed. You got to be there. So see you next year.
I'll be there next year. Yeah. This is my first retreat, so I'm looking forward to it. And also I think for me, I'm really excited to be able to be amongst like-minded people, and and just to share, and because even though you may not get all of the answers, but bringing like-minded people together, it could actually answer some of the things that you've been searching for and you just don't know, because everybody comes from the same culture. So
Yeah.
you know, so that's what I'm looking forward to, because I don't know.
As well, some of the viewers, if you go onto my YouTube page, you'll see a lot of testimonies, what we did during the retreats and how the women felt and how they came away liberated. So, you know, we have loads of platforms you can find us on, and, you know, you can always email, you can give me a call, you know, we'll talk, and, you know, let's see where this goes, see where it takes you.
Jeannie's details will be in the description, but if you would just like to verbally tell us your website, address, and also where they could sort of sign up, because I don't know if they can sign up to the retreat now, and just sort of just be emailed when, you know, it's time to sort of purchase also. So go ahead, Jeannie.
So you can find us on www.self, that's selfcic.co.uk. And on the website, there is information about what we do. So what I didn't mention is, I did mention in terms of the walk and talk, but there's also plant and share. So you've heard me talk about allotment. So we do a lot of things out in nature as well. And we also do share and care. So this is where we have the workshops where we can talk about it in a group setting, or we can have a one-to-one and talk about planting an actual seed, but that seed is also a mirror of your own life, where you're watching it and nurturing it and seeing the transformation in yourself. And if you wanted to contact me and book for the next retreat, because we're just in the process of changing it over onto the website, but we understand and we realize that not everybody can afford the full weekend. So we do a 3-in-1. So we do where you just come for the retreat day, or you can do the overnight and do the whole weekend for the retreat, or you can actually come to the retreat day and then stay overnight. We normally have things like a slumber party, jacuzzi, steam room, sauna, just to totally relax, just be in each other's company and just enjoy. And I think
let it out, let it go.
So we're on Instagram as well. We've got a business LinkedIn page. We've also got a TikTok and obviously the YouTube page. So there's plenty of places to go and find us. And obviously our details will go up on there. But, you know, you can give us a call as well. The number is 07495 878 192.
Yo, 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 what's happening, my people? Mrs. V, SHG, family. Glad you can join me here today, baby. Let's go. Let me begin by telling you what you can expect in the next few minutes. Convince you of the marvelous universe, how she flows so illicit. Let me begin by telling you what you can expect in the next few minutes. Convince you of the marvelous universe, how she flows so illicit.